team. How exciting. I did not read that many books this month, but we're still going to talk about them because I think I read some very pivotal things. So let's use my handy dandy computer to check up on my Goodreads. Okay, we start off the month strong. This one is one of those books that I started. I read mostly in June, and then I finished the last like 100 pages in like the first day of July. But I read Demon Copperhead. This is book number 1. I have actually said I only read 8 books this month, which if you are not a big reader, that seems like a lot. So far this year, my greatest book, okay, I guess the greatest I've read is like 12. But I consistently read usually over 8 books a month, and this is summertime for me, so I have more time. But anyways, we're still gonna be proud. We're still gonna be proud because it's about the good reads we're having, not about the quantity. It's about the quality. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, Demon Copperhead by Kingsolver. I think this won the Pulitzer in fiction in 22. Basically, you are correct. This is a modern day version of David Copperfield, which I think that's correct. That's the Charles Dickens book from ages ago. And I have not read Charles Dickens' book yet, but she does say in the intro here that many generations ago, Charles Dickens wrote David Copperfield from his experience as a survivor of institutional poverty and its damages to children in his society. Those problems have yet to be solved in ours. Dickens is not a prerequisite for readers of this novel, but he provided its inspiration. In transposing his epic novel to her own place and time, Kingsolver has enlisted his anger and compassion, and above all, his faith in the transformative powers of a good story. Wow. So in this book, we follow a kid who goes by Demon Copperhead. His name is Damon, and he's a redhead. So you can imagine the things there. But he grows up in the Appalachian Mountains, and it follows him as a young boy and the hardships that he faces when experiencing poverty and some pretty cruel world events. You know, jumping in and out of homes and the hard friendships and battles. Like you follow him and his people and the people in his life battling with drugs, and it's such a gut-wrenching story because I think we all have people in our lives that have really struggled with some of these hard things, and if you don't, like, this book will still, oh my gosh, pull your heart out. And I'm emotional. I am emotional right now. I've had a really beautiful day, but I'm emotional, and I cannot get to into these books because I will start crying. But it's so beautiful, and I feel like this is such an important read because it gives you just such a, it's written so well too, and you just fall in love with Demon, and you fall in love with him and you want the best for him. Anyways, I am not describing this book well. I love it so much, and I know that you will too. So this is book number 1 of the month. Felt really good about that. This next book I borrowed a copy of from my boyfriend, so I don't have it with me, even though I forgot. But I read East of Eden, John Steinbeck. This is my first Steinbeck. I did start reading In Dubious Battle last August, and I didn't finish it, so we're not going to count that. But East of Eden was really cool. I am picking up a theme here with the classics I read this month, that they're very fast-paced. That story moves so quickly. In East of Eden, there are some really cool biblical undertones that kind of follow the idea of Cain and Abel, and obviously the title East of Eden, and talking about earth and decision-making, and there is so much you can dig out of this book, but basically you're following these 2 brothers and their life, and then mainly kind of one brother and how their lives evolve, the women in their life, and specifically one woman who takes on a bunch of different identities, and she's a very interesting character, but I kind of loved the complexity of the characters that Steinbeck wrote about. I was really averse to reading, is that the right word? I don't know. I felt really about reading classics because I was scared that it was going to be really a horrible view of women. I don't know. I just was scared to read and not like them, honestly. I don't want to read a classic and have a bad opinion, also because I have not read a lot of these prominent authors, but it was so beautiful. It was crazy. The characters were so complex, and there's some wild realistic things and wild not realistic things. This was just a novel, so there was no magical realism element in this at all, but it was really cool. I had a really good time, and I'm so grateful I read it. It flew by pretty quickly. So I would highly recommend this one. If you haven't read any Steinbeck, I would start East of Eden. It's kind of a fun book, and it really does take you, I don't know, like it was so fast paced. Like every chapter, you were just like jumping years ahead. It was crazy. So I gave Demon Copperhead 5, and I gave East of Eden 5. Wow, look at me. What? Okay, the next book I read was Light from Uncommon Stars. This is a very sweet book. This is like a queer sci-fi, we'll call it that That's my category for this one. You're following the main character, Shizuki Satomi, who made a... Well, you're following like two people mainly, but this is one of them who made a deal with the devil to, well, let's say escape damnation. And she must entice... That's what you do to escape damnation. Follow the devil. That's funny. To entice 7 other violent prodigies to trade their souls for success. So she has already delivered 6, and she meets the seventh, right? The person you think is going to be the 7th person for this, who is a young trans runaway. And I must say, this book gives you so much empathy as a heteronormative everything girl. I don't understand what it's like to exist and as a trans person in this world. And this gave me a lot of empathy, and oh boy, it's a hard read. So if this is in any way an ouchy subject for you or sensitive, I would do some reading about it first. There's just a few things in here that are a little hard to read. I think this author did a great job. There were some things where it was just like, it felt like a little too aggressive, for me at least. Just some themes I think the author was trying to break a stereotype, but I feel like the author then just portrayed the stereotype instead of kind of breaking these norms. Anyways, I don't need to go into that. But I think overall I enjoyed it, and the ending was good. I liked it because I thought it was going to go one direction. It did not go the direction I was thinking it was going. It was creative, and it was a quick read, under 300 pages. So the next book I read, I gave it 3 stars. I feel bad. I should give it more stars. Well, I think I originally gave it 4 stars, but as it marinates, I don't have to. I felt like I was supposed to give this book more stars because of sensitive topics inside of it, but I also if I don't like the way this one topic was talked about, I don't have to. So there's that. The next book I read, this was fun, classic number 2 of the month, Metamorphosis, Franz Kafka. This was fun. Very short. They had a long intro and a long conclusion, and I was annotating it off and on, which was cool, which was nice too. Very straightforward, very easy read. I mentioned this in another video. This one goes under the genre of horror, but I don't even know that I think just because the imagery of a bug is hard for people. Basically, this is no spoilers, has it on the back. We all know what this book is about. This man, one day, in 1915, early 1900s, wakes up as a beetle. He wakes up as a big bug. And he actually, I was reading about this a little bit online, just doing some research, and he doesn't say what kind of bug, because I think that it's very intentional too. There's so much metaphor behind metamorphosis. But obviously you can tell by this cover, and just by the way he's describing it, the carapace and the little legs, you kind of imagine a beetle, and you're watching this man grapple with a lot of tough issues, and it's a very deep meaning. It is kind of sad and kind of weird, and I kind of read through parts quickly that I'm because no one likes, I don't know, not the biggest fan of beetles. I think they're cute, but I also don't really want to be near one that's human-sized. So, and there's a lot in here that I feel relates to just the female experience. This one was translated, this is a new translation, which might have been a mistake. It seemed fine, but I was comparing it online, certain sentences with other translations, because I didn't know, they use the term food stuff when describing food. Food stuff. And I don't know what that original word was, but I was seeing what other translations said, so this is cool. I gave this one 3.5 stars. I don't know. I think it was good. I also think it didn't blow my mind. Maybe it's not the time for this to make me feel kinds of things. This was good. Next, I read, this one was really good. Tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. Wow, I really like this book. This is really sweet. I really wanted a better ending than this. Gabrielle 7. Well, you gotta do this to my heart, though. But it was a good ending. Me saying that does not spoil anything. It was a very good ending. You're following these 2 people that meet as, let's see. Okay, it says it. Basically, the timeline spans 30 years throughout this book between these 2 people. It's kind of a romance, kind of not a romance. Honestly, it's a lot more about friendships and whatnot, but these 2 people meet when they're children, and they're really into gaming, and basically it's about developing video games. And it's really cool because I feel I learned a lot, especially for someone that literally doesn't game at all. I play Rummy Cube online with strangers. That is the extent of my gaming. It's playing chess online, but less cool. Yeah. I feel I still understood everything I was talking about because it explained things really well, and it described everything in a way where I felt I just understood what I was talking about. So I feel 1, a little more educated, and 2, I just loved getting a view into the gaming world, and that this started at an earlier year. So it's actually it wasn't the most I don't know what year was this first set in. Well, I don't know. I think it was a little early. Like, I think the people that read it to children when they're adults, I think it's like 2010 maybe. Ooh, I could be really wrong, but I think it's like a little earlier. So, but this gives you an eye into gaming, and I really loved this. It was really sweet. I think I gave it 4 stars. Wasn't a perfect read, but a really good read. I'm very grateful I read it because I was putting it off for a long time because I had heard some people that were like, ah, and some people that like loved it, and I even saw people that at first read it and were like feeling about it, and then they began to love it more over time, and I was like, man, I don't know if I want that reaction. So I didn't. I want to fall in love with the book. Whatever. Even though I read so much, I'm reading everything I can, but then I'm like, high standards. This was worth it. It was definitely worth it. Some weird themes in this one too, man. Wow, some books have some weird elements and things that we don't always talk about. I think that's what good writing does a lot of times, is we talk about things that you don't want to talk about out loud in a book. And I think vulnerability and honesty that authors bring is what makes a book better. And there was some vulnerability in here and some honesty in like relationships that you would not normally experience or write about were in here. And it is good. Nothing, I don't think that was that crazy triggering, but I'd still look at that. I don't know. I liked it. Our next book. Okay, more good one. I was putting off for a while too. Alone with You in the Ether. Olivia Blake. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I read The Atlas Six, and I did not love that book. I think I do love an academic setting, but I don't like an academic setting where people are so snobby, and I did not love the characters in that. Maybe it was just the wrong time, and I had part of it, I listened to an audiobook, which I think probably distorted the characters, even though the audiobook had a different voice for every person, which was really cool. Anyways, I did not love The Atlas Six, so I was putting this off for a long time, but this is basically a romance between 2 neurodivergent people, just like normal, but like people on medication that have different mental states, and they're like totally opposite, and you're basically just like watching them exist and like how they exist together, and some also weird elements in here, but then I think it's kind of great because you attribute it to the honesty of them just being like not neurotypical people and what that might look like, because I think a lot of us aren't neurotypical. But this is really sweet. I liked it a lot because I also feel like I resonated with the female character in a lot of ways. Not in a lot of ways also. In ways I did not. So don't read into that. But in a few ways I feel like I did, where I feel like she's more impulsive and she's a dreamer. She's got big ideas. She's always moving on the go. And the male main character in this is more likes routine, doesn't like change. So you can see those opposing sides. I'm definitely on the impulsive and like go type A side of things. So I resonated with that, and it felt really sweet to watch them as 2 very different people, like build this thing together, and just like watching them exist and coexist and have discussions and what they look like, and it gave a lot of hope to me. A lot of hope. I have a wonderful boyfriend, but it gave me a lot of hope. Okay, the next book I read. This was good. Also weird. And I think that's everything. I think that's everything these days. But the second to last book I read this month was The Good Earth. This one is a classic. It won the Nobel Prize. And what year? I don't even know. In literature. But I found this at home. At my Alaska home. It was written in 1914. Yeah. Prolist book. And I think, yeah. It was good. This was fun. Kind of generational. Interesting storylines. Man, the sexual themes that come in classics, I'm gonna have to start writing about this. Or like noting my thoughts, because interesting. Not bad. I think this is really good. I gave this one 3 stars. You're following this main character. You're 2, Olan and Wang Lung. Basically, this man, Wang Lung. Oh, let me just read the back, because I don't want to give anything away here. When Olan, a servant girl, marries the peasant Wang Lung, she toils tirelessly through 4 pregnancies for their family's survival. Reward is meager, but there is a sustenance in the land until the famine comes. Half-starved, the family joins thousands to beg on the city streets. All seems lost until Olan's desperate will to survive returns them home with under-dreamt of wealth. But they have betrayed the earth from which true wealth springs, and the family's money breeds only mistrust, deception, and heartbreak for the woman who had saved them. The ending of this book, wow. And like I aim to be as courageous and as a wife like Olan was. Oh my gosh, I wish to be that. I wish to be like that upright of a wife. Wow. This is really good. You watch people make mistakes. The dialogue is really funny, and it was really easy to read. Like, it didn't, it was a 100-year-old book. It didn't feel like 100-year-old book at all. Like, it felt really digestible. I would not take this as a, no, I'm learning about, right? I don't want to say that I know that this is placed in China. I think this is placed in China though. But I don't want to say this, now you know a lot about Chinese history, because this is a novel written by a white lady in 100 years ago. So you can see all of these things that make it not historically accurate, but there are parts of it that are, I mean, like the idea of concubines and like bound feet and whatnot that go back in like Chinese history. I think it was good I think I feel more intelligent having given myself this read, so now I can have an opinion on it and I can talk about it and be able to compare it to other books. Yeah, so there's that one. And now, the last book I read this month. This one, holy moly, this was so good. Very interesting. Again, a fast-paced classic. Man, I read 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and holy moly. I mean, so I was like going crazy annotating, and it was taking me so long to read it, so I had to stop. So my annotations only go through page like 300, and there's like 400 pages. So but mostly in the first chunk, because I was just taken aback by how amazing of an author Marquez is. Wow. I mean, this is so beautiful. It's a bit of magical realism. Let me just read this back. It's very short. 100 Years of Solitude tells the story of the rise and fall, birth and death of the mythical town Macondo through the history of the Buendia family, inventive, amusing, magnetic, sad, and alive with unforgettable men and women, brimming with truth, compassion, and a lyrical magic that strikes the soul. This novel is a masterpiece in the art of fiction. So true. And this one won the Nobel Prize. Oh yeah, there it is. Boom. This one also won in literature in 1982. He was born in 1927, but I think this came out in the 73, I think, is when this came out. But man, okay, what I loved about this book, it's very fast-paced, but people make some weird choices in here, and there's some really cool, magical, realistic elements. I loved the humor and the lyrical way that he wrote, because it made even their weird decisions, it like humanized them and made it almost funny. Like you were able to watch people make decisions you wouldn't make and like kind of giggle, you know what I mean? Instead of it being like, oh gosh, I'm not reading a book about this. But it was so quick and it was over with. You never got weird details about weird things. And because the main theme, once you read it, is kind of funny, but it was written in a way that was so good. And the ending is so good. You never see the ending coming. And I feel like it blew my mind. If you've read this book, please let me know that you think the same thing. Oh my gosh. But like the writing in here is unmatched. Let me just see if I can find an example. There really is just about nothing that compares to the fact that every single paragraph felt like a poem. I mean, it made reading my little romance books, which I have not been reading a lot of. I'm reading Flawless by Elsie Silver right now. It makes, one, that book seem so bad, and two, it makes that book so easy to read because it's like short, whatever writing. I mean, Elsie Silver, we can love you. It's okay to be a different author. There is no hierarchy of literature here. I mean, in a classic way there is. It's just, but like, different books are different books, different genres, whatever. I cannot explain to you how crazy immaculate this was. Let me find a quote. I literally would write things like, wow, what genius. Okay, I'll read the sentence. It feels lyrical enough. They're all just crazy. He got dressed by feel, listening in the dark to his brother's calm breathing, the dry cough of his father in the next room, the asthma of the hens in the courtyard, the buzz of the mosquitoes, the beating of his heart, and the inordinate bustle of the world that he had not noticed until then. And he went out into the sleeping street. Every sentence feels like that. One more example. Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, okay. Jose Arcadio Buendia took his wife's words literally. He looked out the window and saw the barefoot children in the sunny garden, and he had the impression that only at that instant had they begun to exist, conceived by Ursula's spell. Like, not a literal spell, but like, this book was crazy. I can't wait to read this again in a few years. Man, it took me a long time. I think this is why I only read 8 books this month. I could not go through this one quickly, and last one I finished, I could not go through it quickly. It took me so long, and even after it, I started reading Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, which I'm on right now. Well, I'm about done with right now, and then I'm like Flawless, Elsie Silver, right? Some lighter books to help me just like keep moving. I almost can't read them because this was so good. I don't feel capable of even reading anything else. So obviously, I gave this one 5 stars. I don't think I even fully am able to understand the magnitude of how good this is because I think my reading journey just beginning. But let's just say, I have seen the light. I understand. And I feel like I really want to get into more acclaimed reads now. Because if this, I know what's funny is I definitely like this a lot more than East of Eden. East of Eden, they're very different kinds of reads. But I just like, this was incredible. Wow. Gotta get that book smell. Okay, I think that's it. That's all. I had a good reading month, and I was traveling, which made that a little more difficult for part of the month. But yeah, I also love flying and reading because I feel like it's the perfect time to just like drill through books when you're flying. So, but I also want to say, I'm so sorry, I did not read all the books on my July TBR. There are like a lot of them still sitting on my nightstand, which might go into my August TBR. I'm not sure. I also don't want to make it feel like homework and then like view some of them in like I don't want to read that way. So I might put some of them off longer. We'll see. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you read these and I hope you had fun. I hope you feel inspired to read some of these books because they were so good. And I hope I described them well. I feel like I don't remember a lot of the books. I can't believe I read Demon Copperhead this month. Like I feel like that feels like years ago right now. So it's hard for me to describe them because I'm also scared I'm going to spoil things. So please do your own research if they sound interesting at all, or if you like my take, or if you're like, I feel like what I'm saying is kind of mysterious and intriguing, like do some research. That's all I got. I'm gonna hit it. I'm gonna go finish Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. Keep reading. I'll get you an August TBR soon. So, anyways, bye.